I get this guitar, what other pieces or components do I need for it to really be able to make it sing? Do I need straps? Do I need picks? Do I need a bag? Do I need a stand? And so whatever the product category is, you really need to think about that. And that's when this cross-sell upsell really can do you a lot of good.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WBS Podcast. I'm Sam Gupta, your host and principal consultant at independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm Elevate IQ. Choosing an e-commerce platform is hard. You have plenty of options to choose from in the market, but they all have specific capabilities and are designed for a specific purpose. Some of the nuanced options, such as gift wrap or style, could be harder to build if they are not supported natively by the platform. While the look and feel are typically the easiest to change, even that could be harder if the platform limits theme customizations. So where does 3DCart stand compared to the other platforms such as Shopify or BigCommerce? Would it be cheaper than the other platforms? Would there be any limitations? In today's episode, we invited a panel of cross-functional experts for a live interview on LinkedIn who brings significant expertise to discuss 3DCart's capabilities. We discussed their strength with the B2B and B2C functionality, along with their ability to integrate with any website without requiring to use their platform. Finally, we discussed their weaknesses with the lack of customizable options and their rigid URLs for SEO. With that, let's get to the conversation. Hello everyone, welcome to today's show. And if you're joining for the first time, this is part of our e-commerce series for which we meet every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, and we pick one vendor or the solution that we review independently. And for today, we are going to be reviewing the platform called 3DCart. It's one of the e-commerce platform out there, which is very exciting overall. So we are going to have a lot of fun. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intros. And I am going to start with my intro. If you don't know me, I am Sam Gupta. I'm principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm, and all of the e-commerce platforms is what we touch on a daily basis. On that note, I am going to move to Phil for his intro.
Hi, everybody. Phil Kerper, Managing Director of Ringling Business Solutions. We help executive leadership teams align their digital strategy with their core business plans, and looking forward to a really good show tonight. Thanks, Sam.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Phil. Robert, can I ask you to introduce yourself next?
Yes, I'm Robert Brown. I'm principal of Robert Brown e-commerce consultancy. I specialize in helping small to medium-sized e-commerce companies transition to larger size through my 20 years of experience in Fortune 50 companies.
Amazing. Thank you, Robert. I am going to start with the briefing. And if you're in the audience and joining for the first time, if you have any questions or comments, make sure you are going to host them because our panelists are going to be reviewing them. And we typically try to cover them during the show. If you cannot get to them, then our panelists are going to make sure that you receive your answers. On that note, I am going to start with the briefing. So overall, when we look at the positioning of 3DCart, so it is positioned as one of the e-commerce platform in the market. They have a very interesting offering. For example, let's say, especially in the SMB market, if you look at Shopify, BigCommerce, typically Shopify is going to be very focused on the B2C market. Your BigCommerce is going to be more in the B2B market. Magento is going to be slightly bigger customers, and then you have WooCommerce as well. Then somewhere 3DCart is going to be a fit as well. But they sort of have this hybrid model because in the world of e-commerce, you have two different plays. Number one is going to be most e-commerce platforms, such as your Shopify. They are trying to make a cut on top of your payment processor. So sometimes that could be a sort of barrier for a lot of companies when they are looking at the e-commerce platform. So one of the value prop that 3D Cart has is they don't really charge that, and their price is slightly friendlier for the companies that are starting. The other advantage that 3D Cart has, they have both functionality and B2C as well as B2B. And when I reviewed their capabilities, for some of those capabilities are real, okay? So they could be a very good option overall for companies that are trying to build their site. They also like to claim themselves as one of the friendliest for the SEO, and we'll see, how those capabilities are. To be honest, users have reported that they are really lean, even though they have decent capabilities there. But from the SEO perspective, I don't know how much you can do. They are really opening up the sort of the placeholder for all of the things that you are going to be needing from the SEO perspective. The other factor that with 3D Cart is going to be that you can integrate this with anything. Okay, so it's also a cart. That's the reason why they probably used to call it 3D Cart, because you can literally integrate this with your WordPress website. Let's say you don't want the full-blown e-commerce platform. The only thing you are looking for is, let's say, buy now button, or just the e-commerce cart on your existing site, or you have a custom-built website. You don't have to subscribe to the 3D Cart platform. You can simply get the cart functionality, which is a big deal overall. Other e-commerce platforms cannot do that. So they are sort of the hybrid of SaaS versus sort of the open source, because they have a free option out there. So not totally open source, but probably somewhere in the middle. And they have been acquired by I believe, and Robert, you can correct me if I'm off. I think the company is called Shift for Payments. So they are the payment processor. And now they have renamed it as Shift for Shop. So I guess, there is some alignment there. So I'll pause there for some commentary. Phil, Robert.
So the Shift for Shop feature is pretty broad. They're dipping their toes in a lot of stuff. So the solutions that they offer are the shopping cart software, enterprise e-commerce, B2B e-commerce, e-commerce automation, point of sale, buy buttons, and subscription software. That's a lot. And with them giving you a free version for the smaller organizations and easily transfer, it can be pretty attractive to smaller organizations looking to wrangle their costs.
Phil, any comments?
Yeah, I'll hit some of this in some of the slides that are coming up here, Sam. But the Shift for Shop, if you go and look at that website and their functionality, it's going to be really interesting as the hour unfolds to see where these guys fit, because as a consumer in the lane they're in, and there's a lot of functionality, what makes them different is the part that I'm really trying to get my head around. They've got some, you mentioned the shopping cart by itself. That was really great. But also there's a lot more functionality here, like you said, on B2B than may be expected with a platform like this, where you can lead in free. And I think their pricing also is super interesting. Like I said, some of those we'll get into more details as we go forward, but this is a really interesting.
Yeah. All right, guys. So here a little bit of history about Shift for Shop. So they used to be called 3D Cart. Now they are called Shift for Shop. So obviously the Shift for Shop brand is fairly new. I guess they were acquired in 2020, and that's where the name must have come from. And the company has been there for a while. So company was founded in 1997, headquartered somewhere in Florida. That's not as relevant, I guess. And then until 2010, I think they were bootstrapped. And then they are saying that when it closed $1.25 million in funding, it saw major growth. It was announced as the preferred e-commerce solution for fulfillment by Amazon. Okay, so this is a very interesting point, and I think we should touch on this. So not a lot of e-commerce platform provides that full value. Okay, so when you are going to be working, let's say with Shopify or BigCommerce, for any of the integration, let's say with your Amazon integration, you are going to be paying to another add-on. And that's what we have seen. For example, let's say if you go for Channel Advisor or similar tool, then you are going to be paying for that. In this particular case, you are getting far more value. And that's probably the reason why they grew so fast. because the smaller merchants were getting far more value because the platform itself was integrated or aligned with the FBA model. And I believe in 2010, FBA model must be very new. Okay, so that's why everybody loved it, because they didn't have to worry about the integration. The integration itself could be extremely expensive. Let's say if you're trying to, so that's a huge value in my mind. That's when they announced the partnership with Square, and integrate and accept credit card payments through its platform. At that time, I think Square was very new as well. But overall, they have integration with like 100 payment and which is a big deal because you want to have all of those payment processor as part of your e-commerce platform. That's a real differentiator. And then they have integration with a lot of different shipping platforms. So again, you are getting a lot more value as part of your e-commerce platform. Then they have the shipping methods as well that we are going to review, and those shipping methods could be extremely nuanced the way it is structured overall from the functionality perspective. So I definitely like the way so now here they are saying in 2020 3D cart partners with Smart Target. So this is where they got the Facebook store, the Walmart store. There's a lot. That's all I can say as part of the platform.
So one other quick comment on this one, and I believe I have this right. So Shift4 is the parent, and then Shift4 it looks to me like purchased the 3D cart, and then they created Shift4 Shop and basically renamed them. Shift4 is a large company, and they're in the collection business. They're huge, and they're very well funded, and they do financial reporting. It's billions of dollars, and they're in like the sports space and all the spaces where they're doing the automated payment issues in major parts of the world. So that also suggests that these guys are very well funded as being purchased from such a large and lucrative company.
But Phil, just on that comment, I mean, you know how this game works, right? And why these guys are actually getting into the platform business, because obviously they want to process more payments through their processor. That's how they make money, right? So obviously, it's going to be far more aligned with them. So that's a huge red flag for me, that why is payment company owning an e-commerce company? It just doesn't feel right.
Right. Well, like you said, it's self-serving for sure, but it also means these guys are the Shift4 company, the payment company, is going to want to gain share in the platform business.
Yep. So looking on the Shift4 Shop website under the enterprise e-commerce pricing, the enterprise solution is normally $19.99 a month, over 10 million a year in online sales and unlimited staff users, and a $4.99 one-time setup. However, it is free if you use the Shift4 payments solution.
We are talking, right?
Yep.
That's how it works.
Nothing dumb about that. There's nothing dumb. They know where the bread is actually buttered.
Exactly, guys. And by the way, I mean, see, there is nothing wrong about this business model, because if you look at the business model of Square, okay, Square is in the same business. They are the payment processor. They have their own platform. They have their own POS. So it's a similar business model. Now, Shopify wants to charge more on your transactions. That's how they make money, right? So that's also a factor, because it's not that Shopify is giving everything for free. They are making margin on every single dollar that you are making. And that's why sometimes the merchants don't like that cut on every single dollar that people are trying to make. Okay, so obviously from the technology perspective, they are really savvy the way they are written. So they are on Microsoft.NET. I don't know how many platforms are going to Microsoft.NET. They are written on AngularJS. They have Elasticsearch, Lucene. But overall, I don't see any issues there. Then they have APIs for a lot of different shipping providers. For example, let's say your parcel shipping, that is going to be on FedEx, UPS, and then a lot of payment integration that we are going to be reviewing in some of the other slides. So now it is saying you can, I think this is where they are making the comment. You can use Shift4 Shop with any website by creating a subdomain and connecting it to the Shift4 Shop storefront. So that's slick in my mind. I mean, I really like that. And they are simply describing that. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's a pretty common solution where, you'll have shop.domain.com.
Yeah.
So that way you separate your say content management system from your shopping solution.
Agreed.
One of the things that people need to be aware of is when they're offered a deal like this, sometimes they have a tendency of just jumping at it because the deal looks so good without understanding what the total cost is going to end up being. So, for some of the clients that I've worked with, they never really did a cost analysis of, the credit card types used for the purchases and what their merchant service fees were for the processor that they had. And sometimes significantly better deals could be had elsewhere. Stripe is a really great deal because it's 2.99% plus 30 cents per transaction. So everybody's heard that Amex is extremely expensive because they'll charge you like 5% per transaction. So if you go to Stripe, you're only paying 2.99. You're like, oh, I'm paying less if I use them. But what they're betting on is most of your transactions are going to be Visa or MasterCard, where your normal merchant services rate is going to be like 1.38%. So you're still playing a spread.
Yeah.
Right. And you can always decline. A lot of people just decline to take the AX over.
Yep. Well, Stripe doesn't let you decline any processor, any credit card. It gets really tricky determining which cards you're going to accept and which ones you are not. So for like Visa and MasterCard, if they happen to have one of their points cards, specifically a corporate points card, they could actually end up charging you up to 7% of the transaction to compensate for those points. And you have no way of telling Visa or MasterCard, no, I'm not going to accept that, because there's no designator in the credit card number to say, oh, this is a points card and this is a normal one.
Yeah, just one quick point, guys, overall in terms of the fee, and I am a big believer of you get what you pay for, okay? And that's always true in business. So one of the things that you are going to notice in the case of 3DCart or Shift4 Shop is their support is questionable. Okay, so when you are in the e-commerce business and you need support on your website, you are waiting on the order, you need support right away. Okay, that's how quick. So in this particular case, obviously their pricing is friendly, but then support is probably going to take 3 days. Okay, that does not happen with Shopify. So again, you get what you pay for. So make sure you are not simply doing the dollar analysis because dollar is far bigger than a real dollar overall, the way business works, at least in my experience. The other point that I want to make is do not forget your international presence. And most of the e-commerce brands, they are always selling internationally as well. Okay, especially if you are talking about FMCG. For example, let's say if you are going to be selling in Mexico, okay, good luck with that, because you might have 100 payment processors supported in the US, but you might have the Mexico front, and none of those payment processors are going to work there. Even Shopify struggles in countries like Mexico, Brazil. They just don't support those processors. So now you need to go to another platform, and then you need to figure out how you are going to get the data. So there are a lot of different considerations that you need to consider before you select a e-commerce platform.
Absolutely. I think, for purposes of this, I mean, because it's an English site, most of the people looking at this will think about, English. I have talked to, and I'm really in awe, I've talked to a lot of Nordic sellers. They have a lot of stores, and they are all multilingual. They have one in every single country because it's the EU. Here are little, mom and pop shops. I mean, there's like 4 and 5 people in the company, and they may have 64,000 SKUs, and they're selling in all these different countries and accepting all these different payments, so it's pretty sophisticated stuff when you're talking about that. Here in the US, we look at it and go, hey, we're in the US, and we kind of forget about the rest of the world.
Exactly. Comments. So some more, comments about their functionality. Their functionality is really deep overall if you look at the capability that they have in the e-commerce platform. And Phil, I'm definitely going to ask you to comment, because you have a lot more experience in the enterprise space. So I'm pretty sure you are going to be thinking, okay, it's not there. How am I going to do my business now? So, but again, this is a SMB solution, so you are not going to find all of those feature sets that you are going to find in the enterprise solution. But considering an SMB solution, this is a very, very sophisticated and rich solution that I've seen. So here we are talking about, number one, Facebook store integration. Now that could be a big deal for smaller merchants because obviously when you are starting out, you are going to be selling a lot on. So that's a big deal. Now, I don't see the featured products now that could impact your conversion rate. So you have the homepage, and sometimes features such as this could be trickier to implement in a lot of different platforms, when the only thing you are trying to do is you are trying to simply display featured products on your homepage so that you can get far more traction when people stop by. You are showing the best products that you got. And sometimes even that could be very nuanced in a lot of different platforms. So customizability is always going to be something that you need in the e-commerce platform. You don't need that in ERP, okay? But in e-commerce platforms, it has to be and significantly customizable. Then we are talking about the category pages and view by manufacturer. Again, that's a very nuanced functionality. Overall, that could be tricky. A lot of e-commerce platforms might not be able to support that. Related products, again, that impacts your conversion rate if you have that. And if you don't have that natively built, implementing that could be a big deal. The saved cards could be a significant functionality overall for the conversion rate. Wish list, gift registry could be a significant functionality. Daily and group deals, again, this is all built as part of the platform. You don't have to get HubSpot, which in my mind is a big deal. Abandoned cart saver. What else am I looking for? RMA. A lot of e-commerce, they don't have RMA. So if they are able to provide RMA, at least some RMA functionality as part of the platform, that itself is a big deal. And they are claiming that no limits on the space, which is trickier in my mind, because the money they are charging, obviously they are hosting it somewhere. So something is going to happen. Either the system is going to be slower, or I don't know, maybe they are going to go bankrupt, because there is no way you can offer unlimited store. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Okay, but I think they are computing it based on, okay, on an average, you are probably going to be uploading 10 images. How large could those images be, right? So maybe they are making certain assumptions in terms of what you might have, but there will be implications. I don't know a platform that can offer no limits on a space, because at the end of the day, you are paying for the space to somebody else. You are hosting on somebody else's platform. This is not your data center. Even if it is your data center, you have to buy infrastructure, you have to pay for people. So how are you going to do unlimited? I don't know.
So I think that honestly goes back to your other statement about you get what you pay for.
Exactly.
It's when you're small and just starting out, trying to get in that startup lean mode as inexpensively as possible to gain some traction. This makes complete sense. But when you reach a certain size, a certain level of sophistication, you need to make sure that you own that, because there's going to be that trade-off of that cost. If to pay for all of this, that means that their processing fees are probably higher than, say, Elevon or Authorize.net or somebody else.
And what I was going to say on this one is that it is amazing to me, and just in months, years, maybe, how much functionality that you would typically see, in this case on an e-commerce platform, that was sitting with just a few, or just the larger, just the more expensive platforms, has come down. I mean, this is an amazing list of functionality, and there's more on other slides, for something that's this affordable to get started with. So it's still, even though I agree, Robert, with you 100%, and the point of, when someone says free unlimited data storage, it's either got to be coming out in their fees somewhere else, or it's got to be coming out in their performance. You already mentioned it's probably coming out with how they're staffing their customer service. So there's a price to be paid somewhere. But boy, oh boy, do you get a lot of functionality for the price coming out of the box.
You sure do. It is very attractive. Honest to goodness.
Right, guys. So some more things. And again, I'm blown away with their B2B functionality, the way it is structured. Sorry, go ahead.
One of the things I just want to raise to our audience just to think about in terms of this amount of functionality. So if we think about what it's going to take to actually merchandise a product, right? So you've got a catalog of existing products or things that you want to sell. There are two schools of thought. Either one, you have a giant catalog and you're just going to move the entire thing over, and most of the descriptions or whatever the manufacturer happens to give you, and it's you're taking e-commerce on with the sledgehammer approach, just trying to force those products out there and hoping that your customer is going to find them. Then you have the other approach where you try to optimize every single product and gain as much traction with every single product that you can, which means doing SEO analysis, stuffing with keywords, making sure that it gets as high on the search rankings. So you're not paying for all that tactical advertising. And that takes a lot of time. So if you think about merchandising it, I've calculated with a number of different folks in the industry, it takes like 30 hours per product to do all that SEO research, figure out exactly what the cross-sell and upsell for those products are, create all the images and the A+ content, and get that all out there. So you've got this fantastic product detail page that matches anybody in the industry and can do battle with them. So that keeping that in mind, looking at these, you have to think about from a strategy perspective, which tactic are you going to use?
Yeah, more. All right, guys. So in terms of B2B feature set, I mean, some of the feature sets that we have are extremely rich, especially when we talk about customer groups. In some of the B2B platforms, you are probably not going to have that, and you are going to struggle with things like buying groups, especially if you are in the industrial space. So the customer groups, the functionality related to your the pricing, the segmentation that you can have, from the pricing perspective, from the discounting perspective, that's a key piece of functionality on the B2B platform. So here they are saying this is going to be the key to personalization, is how they are trying to mention. But obviously, the pricing is going to be the part of personalization, and that's why they are. But main factor is going to be pricing, the way you are going to be presenting the price. So here they are saying set different minimum order requirements, and you can mention at the customer group level or at the customer level, and then you have the pricing, and then you have specific questions like payment, shipping, and again, the way data model is designed for this platform, you can have very nuanced functionality at the payment level, at the shipping level, and we are going to review some of those screens. So it's really slick overall from the functionality perspective. Now we have the customer specific price list. Now these feature sets typically reside inside the ERP system, and they are offering inside eCom, which is a big deal. Now my question always is going to be, okay, let's say if you have your ERP, now where are you going to do what? Is always going to be a question, because you have to have that handshake. You have to make sure that your product data is centralized, at least to some degree, in some platform, and then other systems are really consuming that data. So that question is always going to be there. But overall, at least from the data model perspective, at least your integration is going to be easier. So sometimes I have seen scenarios where, let's say if your ERP is going to be extremely rich, but then you are trying to integrate with HubSpot. Good luck with that. Okay, because the data model is completely off. Okay, it's a very different product. Okay, so it becomes extremely hard to integrate something that is not going to be aligned. So here you have customer groups, you have customer specific pricing list, you have controlled visibility. It's almost like ERP data model, which is what you should be looking for in the e-commerce platform, because your integration risk is going to be lower. Your cost of integration is going to be far lower. So make sure you are paying attention to the data model of how the e-commerce is designed. And obviously that needs to be aligned with you. So,
yes, Sam, on that point, let me put a quick comment out there. That question is getting more and more complex as these front-end e-commerce platforms develop more and more functionality. Now, the source of truth for data still is primarily going to be with your ERP, and the bias there is obvious. But functionality, these e-commerce platforms on promotions, on promotion codes, on different managing different marketing schemes with different marketing groups, you don't want to have the same thing in two places ever, right? And so now you got potentially a system that's really good at something where you would traditionally say, well, I would much rather have my ERP do that functionality. The decision gets tricky depending on how powerful your ERP is.
So, Phil, on the question about duplication that you don't want to have at two places, it's okay to have at two places as long as there is a clear relationship between who is the publisher of the data. And in fact, you can keep the same data at n places, no problem, as long as you have clear relationship between the publishing of the data. So when we say source of truth in the case of ERP, meaning ERP produces that data and the other systems are simply consuming that.
That last comment was not meant to be about data. I completely understand that. There's a source of data and there's other clients and other platforms that are using that data and then calling back to make sure that they're getting the correct information. I'm talking about functionality. So if you're setting up, for example, promotion and a variety of complex promotion, there's a lot of the ERP platforms that also have pretty good functionality for managing promotions and discounts and other things like that. And it does take a little bit more thought to say, where's the best spot to put functionality, because you don't want both the ERP doing promotional calculations and discount calculations as well as Shopify, but certainly the data, I'm with you 100%, and I don't like functionality in two spots, and you never do want to have a source of truth in two spots, but data is going to be sourced all over the place.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have the customer specific pricing list. I personally like this, to be honest, just because this is going to be your channel specific functionality that you have inside your e-commerce. Sure, you are probably going to have this in case of ERP as well. But ERP is going to be slightly more centralized when you are serving multiple channels. So you are going to have that centralized logic inside your ERP. But when you are going to have the channel specific functionality, that's what resides in e-commerce, because e-commerce most likely is not going to be serving all of the channels. So that's where the line is in my mind, even though they both might have the same functionality duplicated. So here they are saying assign custom pricing to individual customer with customer specific price list, create a list of products and define a unique price for each. Again, very slick. I absolutely love it. For a system integrator, this is a charm. This is okay. If I had to, let's say, if I had the customer price list somewhere and now I don't even identify a customer here in this system, I'm dead. Okay, I'm going to have real fun with that integration. So I like the way data structure is here. And then you have the controlled visibility, which could be for regulated industry. Okay, medical device, pharma. It's a big deal, guys. So you need to have have full control over who can place an order, even view your products and pricing on your website, which is a big deal. And this is going to be from how much you want to show it to your customers as well as vendor. So you have a little bit of portal there, I guess, which is, again, a big deal. Okay, and then in the case of B2B, your sales rep, okay, they are going to have very different workflow. You are going to have an admin, okay, and admin typically have very different functionality. So they are able to support the sales rep, the commission. That's a big deal. Typically, most platforms, I have not seen that. Again, if you are talking about obvious, they are probably going to support that. But this is considered slightly more advanced functionality. The B2B cost center locations is very interesting as well. Okay, I've never seen that before. So here you are able to specify where these customers are going to be buying the good from, and that's a very interesting piece of functionality inside Key. And I don't know, Phil, if you have ever utilized that in the enterprise centric.
I'm trying to, this one I'm reading one more time because I'm not completely sure I understand what they're saying.
So I think, so basically the core advantage of this is going to be that typically when you are trying to order, you need to actually type in your address. So in this particular case, you are going to be simply keying in your location wherever you are going to be shipping it to. So that's going to be the ease of use. That's what they are trying to do. So typically, if you in the B2B scenario, whenever you are trying to ship, you need to actually do the billing address, shipping address. But these days, probably you are going to have that. So I don't know.
I'd like to see that done. If it's a matter of it's just referencing a preloaded location, that's not that crazy. If it's a matter that it's actually has functionality where it's going to figure out your address, that's pretty cool.
No, they definitely have the data model aligned to that. So this is for thicker functionality. It's not simply inputting your address.
Yeah, because there's a lot of sites now where you start to type your address and it will start filling in the rest based on what the post office knows about addresses.
Yeah, but I mean, this is not just the address. This is also the control issue. So here, let's say if you read this, so it is saying this is essential. Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, so I'm not sure I got a good definition of what this is, Robert.
So what this is talking about, this is talking about franchisees.
Yep.
So if you are like a tool company, if you're like Snap-on Tools, right? And so you've got the main manufacturer and then you've got all your franchisees running around, right? So you've got this list of customers, but that customer can't go to another franchisee. They're landlocked because of that border. And so they're associated with the prices for that particular franchisee. And that's what we're doing here.
Got it. Now I see that, and now it's the franchisees and honoring the exclusive sales contracts. Now it makes sense. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I have not seen this before in an e-commerce platform, so that's a pretty nice little toy.
All right, guys. So this is how the POS looks, and typically, even though a lot of e-commerce and ERP companies, all of them are going to say, "Hey, I got POS," okay? But the way POS workflow works is very different, okay? You need to have very different screen layout. The way your cashiers are going to work, they work very different. So the workflow needs to be custom. You cannot open it in a browser and expose an ERP to them. They are gonna hate it, okay? They are designed to work very differently. So this is a real POS that you are getting. If you look at the screen, it looks like a POS. It doesn't look like a, ERP or e-commerce. And this is tricky when you are building the omnichannel architecture. And if your POS is not going to be connected with your e-commerce system, if you are let's say apparel business or any sort of fashion style business, these days you have to have your POS as well as your e-commerce integrated, because the way customers buy, it's just harder, and that is actually going to. So here you are getting the POS as well as e-commerce integrated. Now, I think you need to sort of pay attention to the language, the way they have used in this. And I am not too sure if this is going to be fully integrated, because sometimes companies sell, for example, NetSuite is going to sell, with ERP, you are going to get WMS. But the WMS does not talk as smoothly with ERP, even though it is sold by NetSuite. Okay, so this is the same problem that you are going to get with the other platform as well. So here they are saying smooth integrations. Keep your POS software synchronized with your online store to ensure accurate inventory management across both online and offline sales channels. Shift4Shop offers several POS options. Okay, this is where the trick is. So they are not saying this is my POS. Shopify is going to say this is Shopify POS, and this is integrated, cooked as part of the same, meal. It's not a different meal that you are trying to eat. So here they are saying I have many different options. So I don't know how well this is rated. So I think that's something that I would like to pay attention to. So they are saying several POS options to provide for the unique needs of any business. But I would definitely pay attention to the integration, how well they are integrated. Okay, so here again, I think they have pulled together a lot of functions. So now we are talking about subscription-based business, okay? And this is another beast, completely different beast overall, from the accounting perspective, from the business perspective, the way the business works, the way the fulfillment works for the subscription-based. We have seen subscription-based workflows in a lot of different tools that we have reviewed. And here they are saying that they can support subscription-based businesses as well, which is a big deal. Now, here, we have many different options overall in customizing the platform. And I was paying attention to many different videos that we have on, etc. What all they are allowing. So the overall options that you have in terms of are going to be fairly limited. That's the sense I got, from the reviews that we have seen from the other reviewers, as well as from the users as well. So here you have many different options. Number one is going to be simply customizing the theme. So in that case, you can customize your color, header. But when you look at the real customization, so here the only thing you are doing is you are probably customizing the text and the color. But let's say if you want to change the layout, that's where the real trick is going to be. It's really going to struggle. So this is the advanced customization screen. And in the advanced customization screen, so yes, you have a way to create the page. So you can basically create the page as you are going to create. You want to see it just like you would do it in WordPress. But then let's say if you want to change the layout, it becomes really hard because they are not providing options. So you are either going to have to find a developer who's be creating a theme. And I don't know how easy it is going to be in the platform, because if platform is going to have a lot of different restrictions, it's going to be really hard. So again, if you're looking for plain vanilla standard site, it may be an okay option. But if you are looking to try different things, to try different conversion rates, trying to place your buttons at different places, trying to place your products at different places, sometimes that could be harder. Okay, so here, this is very, very, very interesting. So when you are creating the product, you are choosing a digital, physical, or the gift certificate. that's part of the product. So you can sell a lot of different product types. So not only just the physical products, you can actually sell the gift certificate, digital, physical, subscription-based offerings. So you can do a lot overall from the functionality perspective. They have some of the features such as, this is a big deal for a lot of different e-commerce merchants. For example, let's say if you talk about allow customers to purchase when this product is going to be out of stock, that feature set is slightly more advanced. You are not going to find in vanilla e-commerce platforms, and they are allowing that. Robert, you have a comment?
So this is part of the nitty gritty of the detailed setup that's more experienced operators will understand it's necessary to get that in there for your shop to work as expected. The newbies are going to go in there and go, oh, I can ignore this. And later on, it kind of ends up biting them in the rear. And so you need to make sure that, if it's asking for information and setup, you need to take the time to set it up correctly.
And they have some more options here overall from the distributor as well as manufacturer. You can specify that at the inventory level. I think that's a very key piece of functionality, especially for the B2B merchants. Now, the upsell, cross-sell, I love it. I really do love it. Okay, so the correlation is going to be at the product level. And this is, again, I'm going to go back to my data model. Okay, how sophisticated is your data model? Are you simply providing me a bunch of, text field that is going to be read, and then my upsell and cross-sell is going to be configured? Or do you have a real functionality built as part of your data model? And here you have very organized data model to support your related products to upsell. Again, very interesting piece of functionality that you are probably going to find in advance.
So this is where the strategy comes in. This is where you really need the buyer and the person that really understands the product. So they understand, okay, if I want this guitar as an entry-level person, 2 years from now, what is going to be the upsell? What's exactly going to be the next guitar? Or if I get this guitar, what other pieces or components do I need for it to really be able to make it sing? Do I need straps? Do I need picks? Do I need a bag? Do I need a stand? And so whatever the product category is, you really need to think about that. And that's when this cross-sell upsell really can do you a lot of good and add actually to the bottom line. But just let it go and just throw anything in there, you're not going to get the value.
Exactly. And some of these options are probably not going to be available in a lot of different, some most popular platforms. For example, let's say if you talk about commerce, it becomes extremely difficult. You can do it. Okay, but how hard it is going to be and how expensive it is going to be always going to be my question.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think just playing off that, Robert. I mean, don't expect the platform to do the work for you on the relationships between your products. Now some of the platforms, I haven't seen it in this one, but some of the higher end platforms will give you A/B testing. Some of them will have some AI that will start to gather information on typically a customer who looks at that entry guitar, looks at these other things too, and they'll start to populate it. But you got to start by saying, when someone looks at this guitar, I'm going to start saying other people were interested in these three things and get the ball rolling, even on the higher end platform.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so this is the screenshot of their payment methods. And again, I'm blown away the kind of integration that you have as of the platform itself. And again, if you are looking at the conversion rate, if you want to make sure that you are able to serve as many customers are coming to your door, then you have to have a lot of different payment options. Okay, you really need to support that. That's must for the e-commerce business. The same goes for shipping options as well, because customers are looking for that. The more options you have, the higher conversion rate you are going to have, the less number of opportunities that you will lose. So I absolutely love the kind of support that you have from the payment processing as well as from the shipping processing. Now,
and it's interesting we saw Stripe there.
Yeah. If you look at this, and this was really smart on their part to partner with these, because Klarna is the one that put forth the 4-pay option that most people are utilizing, which is very popular. So there's no additional cost to the customer for that. I can just pay it off in 4 monthly installments, and that's really nice. It just ends up costing the reseller whatever, a percentage of that payment. Amazon is probably just from a name recognition. Stripe and PayPal also name recognition, but PayPal sometimes also gives you buy it now and pay in full in 30 days. And they also have the PayPal credit card.
Yeah, so PayPal may not be as major based on the customers that we have, Robert, but there is decent amount. I mean, I don't think you can afford not to have PayPal. You have to have PayPal. There's some
Yep.
customers really like to pay from. They just don't like to share their credit card. It could be belief. Yeah, I
Yep.
don't know. Yeah. Okay, so for the shipping, and again, the way the shipping settings are, in my opinion, I think it's super easy. You can specify your account. If you have an account, let's say with PS, and you want to drive those rates, you can do all of that very easily, and you don't require a technical person. So which is really slick in terms of functionality. The shipping methods, this is extremely tricky, okay? And this is where I think you probably would require an expert. And this can drive your conversion rate, okay? The kind of shipping method that you are going to have. And by the way, you can specify this at the product level, and they have shown different ways of what all different options that you can offer. And shipping rate typically has the direct implication on your conversion rate. The more options you are going to offer, the way you are going to offer shipping, it's going to have direct impact on your conversion rate. So I love the way shipping method data model is supported right in the product itself. It's not the afterthought. It's really built as part of. Now, gift wrapping option. Now, gift wrapping option is again built as part of the product. Very slick piece of functionality, and I don't know how other platforms are going to handle that. Some platforms are going to be utilizing a lot of different add-ons. So you are working with another vendor that may not integrate as well. You are signing separate contract. In this particular case, you are getting this directly from the vendor, and it's integrated as part of your product options. Okay, the product option itself is a very rich data model, and you have a lot of different things that you can do at the option level. So, and these options are going to be extremely tricky that we are going to see in some of our slides as well, which is going to be, let's say, if you have style color, sometimes that could be very tricky functionality to manage overall on the e-commerce platform. So this is how the options is used, and this is the size, color, etc. Again, data model is extremely rich. What they are able to daily deals.
The only thing about I kind of laugh at this one because you've got some vendors out there that truly understand that if you're going to offer gift wrapping, it needs to be on point and it needs to be perfect. And you've got others that it looks like it came out of Duck Dynasty. So you have to have the resources necessary to actually be able to offer these options.
Could not agree. Daily deals is not built as part of the product, so this is probably their add-on that they have added. But the way the daily deals look, you have a lot more flexibility overall where you can place the widget, and that itself is a very key piece of functionality in driving your conversion rate. I love this one. Okay, this is awesome, phenomenal. This is the import-export screen, and you can get a lot of data out and a lot of data in a very easy manner. Which is just wonderful. Not a lot of platforms are going to support this. So this is where, let's say, even if your ERP is probably not as integrated, you can probably still manage, with this platform. And it's really easy the way the functionality is built. So they are providing a lot of options overall in terms of promoting, importing your pricing, exporting your products. You can do a lot of things. And then we have just one review or maybe a couple of reviews. So here, I think they are complaining a lot. This is not the trend that I saw in reviews. So this review could be a little off. It is coming from 2020. But one of the things that I caught that we should pay attention to that. And they are saying what really disturbed me was they have the page numbers and the product numbers attached to every URL. Now that's a big deal, guys. That's a real deal breaker. I'll tell you why. Because if you are saying that I am built for SEO, your URLs cannot have numbers there. Okay, you are not supposed to have that. So now that's a deal breaker overall. I don't know. And again, we are talking about very specific limitations here, and sometimes these limitations can fire back for an e-commerce business. Do your research. Hire an expert. Okay, e-commerce is a different deal. It's not some other platform because that drives your conversion rate. And then the other things is it generates a sitemap, just a general sitemap. So again, SEO people are not going to be happy about it. And then you can connect with the FTP site, but FTP is not. They are not as happy about it in terms of how you are doing that, then they are saying, I wish it had more plugins like WordPress, WooCommerce. I would love it if the Yoast SEO premium plugin could be made to work with 3DCart. So 3DCart has their own way of doing the SEO, but people cannot utilize Yoast, which is a deal breaker for a lot of WordPress users. And they have some problems with the redirect as well. I just don't like it. I like to see the very capable redirect functionality, because again, that drives your SEO. That's it for discussion.
I found some of those negative comments to be amazing, given everything else I saw. And I got to that, I read that, and I thought that just doesn't sound right. those are first of all, they're horrible, and second of all, they're basics. They're not like some weird tweak. That's right in the heart of these sites. So I don't know whether I don't believe it completely, but someone doesn't make that specific of a complaint if they're just wrong, right? So there's something that doesn't ring right on that one, but I was stunned.
So Phil, this is how system selection work, okay? Even if you're going to spend 2 years in selecting a system, you might find something so shocking unless you are doing these things on a daily basis and you understand these platforms, and these are the new ones. Once you are logged in the contract, once your site is running on 3DCart, good luck with that now. I don't know what you can do.
Yeah, so I can confirm. So I went to Shift for Shop, clicked on wine stores. I was just looking for customers that might be active. And so I found the first one, Truly Fine Wines, they list as their first store, is out of business because of COVID, but they still list them. The next one, Adventures for Home Brewing. They do have the product number in the URL. So it's homebrewing.org, products, 5-gallon stainless steel brew pot variant, and then a number string.
Deal breaker.
To get to the end and then to find that. Oh my goodness. Fix it. If you're listening out there, secret, don't tell anybody, fix that.
Oh boy.
That's why we do these reviews, is to let people know this is what's going on.
Yeah, amazing. So now I have trouble doing my summary I wanted to do, which is really positive. Oh my goodness, I feel like going and tackling these. You got all this going on. You got purchased by somebody who's got a ton of bread, to put into you. Go fix your URL for goodness.
SEO URL.
Oh gosh.
Probably the reason why they cannot do it is because it was designed back in the days when Google wasn't as cruel. But these days it's really harsh. It's really harsh. And the other limitation could be platform specific as well. So my understanding is going to be, even though they are saying they are built on Angular, and typically the numbers that I have seen in the very basic WordPress sites, that sites don't understand. Even the WordPress nowadays, so you can do the text-based URLs. You're not going to have numbers, right? So I don't know where the limitation is coming from, but there is some limitation that they are not able to fix.
There's no way they don't realize that's a problem.
No, Phil, it's never that easy.
Yeah, it's obviously their DBAs have based on their architecture.
Exactly.
They for them to re-architect it would be onerous.
It's a Y2K problem.
Yeah, but I also will say the other kind of blind spot on this one, that if I was seriously considering it or had a client seriously considering it, that you got to get to the money. There's something not right about the money. They're charging you somewhere for something, and I wonder what that really is.
That's the processing. And, quite honestly, most people evaluating systems do not have the experience or expertise or time to accurately evaluate this, and that's the problem, so they'll say, I need it now, just give it to me. And when you start asking the questions, like, I don't have time to answer that. Just do it for me now. It's like, you're asking, an awful lot. If you want something long term, you need to spend a little bit of time making sure that you've got the right thing. And I'm not talking about 42 free trials. I'm saying you need somebody to help you step through the process to analyze, to make sure that the solution is secure, that their APIs are secure, that your data is secure, that if actually fits, you're not under or over purchasing for your size organization. And that's a challenge.
Well, and also even clients that you talk to that made a mistake and you kind of get involved on how they ended up in this spot. Sometimes they start really well, and they're doing good evaluations, but they just tire out. And they finally said, I've looked at 3 of these. The 4th one gets the order. I'm tired. Whoever sells the next one that sounds good gets the order because they just run out of gas on it.
Yeah. And I think part of the problem is that there's not a single source of unbiased, transparent evaluation data of all the solutions that can easily match the product to the organization size and maturity model.
And the rating site, because that's the other thing that happens a lot. Some of them I'm sure are fine, and I use them, so I'm not going to say that they're horrible because it does get you started. But boy, oh boy, is it a bunch of schmooze. I mean, I don't know who's paying for what, but man, oh man, you read those rating sites and you don't get a straight answer on the comparisons between these at all.
Yeah. Many of them are pay to play. I'm not going to point figures at who is who, but many of them are. It's just an advertising. It's a form of advertising model.
Correct. But that also for that person who's trying to say, okay, I really want to make a good decision here. I'm busy, right? By definition of who I am, and I'm trying to do the right thing, and I go through either some real misinformation, some difficult to understand, lack of transparency, and at some point I'm tired. And that's where they gotta call you, Robert, or they gotta phone a friend, guys, and get someone to take a look at this thing for you. It is worth the money because as Sam said, once you're married to these things, it's no party unwinding it.
Well, and you also have to have a realistic expectation of how long you're going to be married to them. I mean, if your organization is growing, not stagnant, but if your organization is growing, you have to have a reasonable time frame that says, okay, I know that this is for a period of time. It is not forever. It's not like my marriage. I am using this tool until I've outgrown it.
Yep.
Yeah, but guys, just one quick comment. I think for the re-architecting, it's not an easy expense. I mean, if you have to switch the platform, it's a substantial expense.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. And you'll live with a lot of pain before you live with that pain. Right?
Yeah. All right, guys, so I can take some more short comments.
No, I think I'm good. Robert, you got any parting thoughts on this one?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, guys, so that's it for today. And if you're, considering 3DCart, obviously it has amazing piece of functionality. It has very friendly pricing, but SEO for me personally is a deal breaker in general. If you cannot do SEO, then I cannot. So review carefully that your goals are going to be met. Let's say if you are not in a high traffic business, then it might be okay. But let's say if you really rely on Google traffic, it might be. On that note, that's it for today. If you joined for the first time, this is part of our e-commerce series for which we meet every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We pick one vendor or the solution that we review independently. So make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We are going to come back with another solution. On that note, thanks everyone for your time and insight tonight.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show, for sharing their knowledge and journey. I always pick up learnings from our guests, and hopefully you learned something new today. If you want to learn more about Phil Kerper, head over to ringlingbusinesssolutions.com. It's ringlingbusinesssolutions.com. If you want to learn more about Robert Brown, head over to rgbecommerce.com. It's rgbecommerce.com. Links and more information will also be available in the show notes. If anything in this podcast resonated with you and your business, you might want to check other related episodes, including the interview with Jacqueline Laufer, who shares her insights into the Shopify paths and the challenges associated with international payments. Also, the interview with Ingo Hagemann, who shares his insights into the integration challenges of ERP and e-commerce software. Also, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word among folks with similar backgrounds. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please review and rate us on your favorite podcasting platform or DM me on any social channels. I'll try my best to respond personally and make sure you get help. Thank you, and I hope to catch you on the next episode of the WBS Podcast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.